Let's go ahead and refresh what we did last week. لم يكن at the right together with منفكين. لم didn't. يكن just like ولم يكن له يكن له كفوا أحد يكن. لم يكن did not be, meaning was not. So لم يكن was not. منفكين means split. لم يكن منفكين, they were not going to split. Why are we adding we're not going to? Because yakun is not needed in Arabic. The verb is. You don't need to put it. You could say ما هم منفكين, not splitting. Yakun adds something, and here it adds they were not going to split. Who's they? The people in the long bracket above. These people were not going to split. حتى, until البينة, clear proof, تأتيهم, comes to them. Until the clear proof comes to them. So in English we say to them, but in Arabic there's no to, it's just come them. تأتي, come, hum, them. Until clear proof comes to them. So who are they? The ones who disbelieve from the people of the book and the idol worshippers. All the people who have disbelief from these different groups, Jews, Christians, and pagans, all of them included in this. So they were not going to split until clear proof comes to them, meaning they were not going to part ways from their old bad habits, whatever it is that they were doing. They're following the way of their forefathers, they're following the way of their ancestors, the way of their culture, and they're not going to split away from that until clear proof comes to them. That's how much it takes for people who are not worshipping Allah properly to split away from that and go back to worshipping Allah properly. Clear proof. And what is clear proof? The next ayah tells us, Rasulun, a messenger, min Allah, from Allah, yatlu, reciting, suhufan, pages, or something that has scriptures on it, mutahhara, pure. And this is an adjective, so we say pure pages or pure scrolls. Fiha, in them or in it, in that clear proof, kutubun qayyima. Same thing, an adjective. Qayyima means upright, like qam, qiyama. So qayyima is upright. Kutub literally means something in writing. So a kitab is a book that has something in writing. So in it, in this clear proof, or in those pure pages, there are upright things in writing. Instructions, directions, guidance in writing. وَمَا تَفَرَّقَ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابِ. Same thing. Just like you had the bracket above, all of these people were not going to split. In ayah 4, you have the same thing. These people, مَا تَفَرَّقَ. We looked at تَفَرَّقَ in the Tajweed Mus'haf on the side column. This is the same one. We had أشتاتا means متفرقة, separated. So these people this time, not exactly the same, but it's a group of people. ما تفرق إلا من بعد ما جاءتهم البينة. So the ما plus إلا, I didn't put a bracket, we could do that. Let me turn on the pen. Bismillah. ما plus إلا. Nothing but. Or not at all except. And so we said divided. تفرق, divided. So these people did not get divided except we ignore the word min here. Ba'd after. Why is there a box on the word ba'd? Because it's already somewhere on, if you have the Quran open 2 pages, it's already here. After. So they did not divide into groups until or except after, and then the ma is also there, we don't need to translate it. جاءتهم البينة. So this is the same phrase, and it's the same word. تأتي, come. جاءت, come. It's the same translation. جاءتهم البينة, clear proof comes to them. So this is talking about something different because this is not the same group of people. This is now the ones who, and this is where we said we would clarify this next week, so this is today, were given the book. Now let me unveil the notes on the side. There we go. So I wrote given. Utu, given. The ones who were given the book. So now this is not a big group of people who disbelieve. This is people who were given the book. They started getting divided, disagreeing, after the clear proof came to them. So what is it that they disagreed about? We mentioned last week. They all knew that a messenger was going to come in Yathrib that was going to be called Medina. That's why the Jews were there, because in their scripture it said that the final messenger would be there. That's why they moved there in the first place. And the Quran confirms that Isa alayhi salam told the coming of Ahmad after him. So people who have scripture, they know that there's a messenger coming. They agree that there's a messenger coming. Once the clear proof came, which is that messenger, then they no longer agreed. Some of them accepted him as their messenger, a minority, and others did not accept him as their messenger. Sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So now this word utu, that means given. What is another word already here that has the same letters and therefore it raises a question? Ta'ti. Ta'ti has the same letters as utu. Hamza, ta, ya. Hamza, ta, wa. Like we said, ta, ya, ta, wa, same family. So ta'ti seems to be from the same family as utu. Now, for the first time, and we're going to see this many times, when you change the family quite a bit, then you change the meaning quite a bit. Like for example, ilm is knowledge, but allama is teaching, which is connected to knowledge, but it's not exactly just knowledge. And here, like in some other cases in Arabic, we don't see a connection. Ta'ti means come, utu means give or given. It would come to them. So this was in Surah إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحُ. Clear proof comes to them. I forgot to bring the booklets. I have them in my car. I brought 3 booklets. The little booklet that he has. Sure. The car is unlocked. You probably have to. Yeah, I think the driver's side is. It's on the passenger seat up against the thing. And I think the driver's side is open, probably also the back. So for those who weren't here before, highlighted words is because they come a lot in the short surahs. Words that are black, like for example, kitab and mutahhara are black versus these words that are gray, and munfakkin is gray. Black words are also quite common, just not as much. وَمَا أُمِرُوا. So now we're getting into the new part of the surah. Actually, we'll stay here because it's a 2-part surah, and the first part ends at ayah 5. وَمَا أُمِرُوا إِلَّا. Have we seen this thing before? وَمَا أُمِرُوا إِلَّا. Have we seen something like this before?
On the same thing? No, not here.
Well, there's 2 things we've seen before. So.
Um,
We could think about, let's think about the word umiru first.
Surah Al-Qadr.
Surah Al-Qadr, yeah. What do we have like umiru?
Command.
Command. Amr? Command. It's highlighted, it's boxed, but it doesn't say command on the side. How come? Because Amr is also in Surah Al-Alaq. Amr here means command. So we wrote it down here, then we didn't write it a second time. But since it's not in it's a word that sometimes we tend to forget. Let's go ahead and write. So now, umiru is not the same as amr or amara. أو أمر بالتقوى. Across the page you have أمر بالتقوى. Amara is not the same as umiru. So what difference does it make? It makes it were commanded. So let's write it down. Were commanded. So you're welcome to follow along with the booklet if you like. Again, why am I putting a dash? Were commanded. Because were commanded is just one word in Arabic. Umiru. Okay. What was this above here? الذين أوتوا الكتاب.
Those who were given the book.
Those who were given the book. And now umiru is those who were commanded. Huh? So you see the pattern. They both have u. There's a mi and there's no e in the between. This is because the word, if it was e, it would be utiu. And utiu, that's actually the original form. It's supposed to be utiu instead of utu. But Arabs don't do iu. Iu sounds iu. So we don't do iu in Arabic. Utu, were given. Umiru, were commanded. Okay. وَمَا أُمِرُوا إِلَّا. What else do we recognize here? Not just accept. وَمَا أُمِرُوا إِلَّا. Bracket. مَا إِلَّا. Excuse me. مَا إِلَّا. Nothing but. So remember in the workshop, there was two meanings for the word ma. And I told you, always start with what? Ma means what? And then sometimes ma means not at all. And I said, most of the times it's going to be correct. Ma means what? Only some exceptions is going to be not at all. Well, you're going to start noticing that most of the times when the word ma means not at all, it comes with something. So I'm putting brackets here to recognize it. Ma illa. And there's another few, like for example, وَمَا صَاحِبُكُمْ bi majnun. So this ma comes with a bi of bi majnun. So this is another way, another place, this combination of ma plus something else makes it easier to identify this ma that means not at all. Nothing but إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُوا اللَّهِ. This should be easy.
Worship Allah.
Where did you get the two from?
Li.
لِيَعْبُدُوا اللَّهِ. To worship Allah. So how do we translate this? What? They were not commanded anything at all except to worship Allah. Or you could say in a sarcastic rhetorical question, what were they commanded except to worship Allah? What is it that I was asking of them except to worship? Like Allah is speaking in the Quran. مُخْلِصِينَ. So we haven't seen this word, but it's the name of a surah. It's not in the surah. Ikhlas. What is ikhlas? Sincerity. So we can write it again. Sincere. A mukhlis is a person who has ikhlas. Lahu. What is lahu? It's la plus hu. For him. Ad-deen. Not his religion. The religion. Sincere. For him. The religion. That's an interesting way to phrase it, right? So this is a case of a sentence where some of the words don't need to be there, but in English we need these words. مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ actually means dedicating to him religion sincerely. So you have to make it into a verb. Sincerely dedicating. Sincerely dedicating what? Sincerely dedicating religion to who? To him. Hunafa. This sincere dedication of religion to him is also hunafa. What is Hanif? Who are the, not the Ahnaf, the Hanafi madhab, the hunafa of the Hanif. There's a few people that we know they were among these hunafa. Anybody know from the seerah?
Following the deen of Prophet Ibrahim.
Of Prophet
Ibrahim.
Ibrahim alayhi salam. They were the very few people living in Arabia who were not worshipping idols. Can you name at least one of them? Waraqa, the uncle of Khadija, Waraqa bin Nawfal. So he was known as a Hanif. And there was a few others. For example, I don't remember the name. Zayd ibn? No. No, I think it was actually the son. And the father was Zayd. And Zayd had passed away, and the messenger confirmed that he was one of the Hunafa, so he's in Jannah. Even though he didn't officially accept the message of the messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was one of those who didn't worship idols. So Hunafa means, it's a complicated word. Hunafa means that you are basically, if there's a danger and you're walking by the danger, you're going to do everything you can to walk as far away from the danger as you can. That's Hanif. So they're doing everything they can to stay away from that shirk. Stay away from those idols. Stay away from nonsense. Which is, you could say, another way to say dedicated. They're persistent and dedicated in not worshipping idols. وَيُقِيمُ الصَّلَاةِ وَيُؤْتُ الزَّكَاةِ. What does that mean?
Stand for prayer.
Stand for prayer
Stand
and
for prayer
Pray
and
salat
they give
and
zakah.
pray
and they
zakat.
give zakah. You have to guess this, right? Well, how do we know this means give? To, given, yu'tu, give. And ya'ti, come. So this is a tricky one. It'll come here and there in the Quran. Ya'ti is come, and yu'tu or yu'ti is give. They give zakah. Okay. We haven't seen the word yet, but the word qiyama, we got qayyima from it, upright. We had al-insan fi ahsani taqwim, in the best form, but taqwim doesn't just mean form, it means able to stand upright, in the form that stands upright, taqwim. The actual verb from it is not yuqimu, is yaqumu. The word qiyama, standing, the normal verb or the base verb is qama yaqum. So the iqama, qad qamat is-salah. Salah is standing. Yuqimu is not just standing for salah. What is yuqimu salah? Huh?
Established.
Establish is a translation that they use, but it means to make sure that it stays upright. Make sure that it is growing in the right way, upright and well. So in landscaping, they use trellises, these little sticks or cables that they put on the tree so that the tree grows upright. And if you get a landscaping company to bring a tree to your front or backyard, they'll tell you you have to water it every day for the first week. Then you water it every 2 days for the second week, every 3 days for the third week, and then after that, it's okay. You can water it. It could just be watered with a regular sprinkler. Why? Because you want to make sure it grows right in the new environment. So it's the amount of care of making sure it is upright. Oh, it's dripping still. Yuqimu is to give it enough care that is going to be upright. So they translate it as establish. So make upright would be the literal translation. But I don't think you'll find any English translation of the Quran that'll say they are sincere to they dedicate their religion sincerely to Him, making their salah upright. You probably won't find this in the translation, but that's the literal meaning. وَيُؤْتُ الزَّكَاةَ and giving zakah. وَذَلِكَ وَذَلِكَ
And then,
So,
and this is
not this. هذا is this. هذا ذلك.
that,
Those is أولئك.
that,
That. And that, what about that? دين القيمة.
It's a straight upright religion.
Well, it would be upright religion, but what did I note last week about the adjectives? صحفا مطهرة. They match. صراط الصراط المستقيم. ال with a فتحة N. الوسواسي الخناسي. ال with a كسرة N. So they match. And same thing for these ones over here. كتب قيمة. No al and تنوين. But this doesn't look like an adjective. دين القيمة. This doesn't match. Instead, دين is missing. It's supposed to have either a tanween or alif lam. But it doesn't have either. What do we know about this?
This is the subject of.
No. It could be, but I'm not bubbling this because not every u is going to be the subject. But we know something about a word that normally should have either tanween or al, like ad-din over here, but it doesn't. What does that tell us about it? We need to refresh. Let's refresh over here. This business here. The last line that I'm showing on the screen. When an ism has no tanween and no al. What about it? Go look at it and try to remember from here. What does al mean? The.
right,
When it doesn't have al, it has tanween. What does that mean?
Is
It means a.
A.
Okay, what about it if it doesn't have either? It's one of these things. It's under this, it's called the articles.
of,
Of.
of,
Yes. When it doesn't have al and no tanween, that's when you drop the of. Yes. So that's what I was refreshing your memory about. And that's the goal of the reference sheets. I could have dedicated maybe, I mean, literally in our school, when the high schoolers have done a lot of Quran, still, despite having that knowledge of these things that we're discussing in the translation, it takes several months for the of to be really grammatically honed down. So the reference sheet is basically a shortcut. It's a shortcut to recognize, oh, al, no al, tanween, no tanween. Okay, so we put an of. This one is a strange one though, because if you translate with an of, that would mean, and that is the religion of upright. So then you would say of uprightness. So it's interesting because over here, qayyima was the adjective, upright something. And here, qayyima is no longer an adjective. It is the religion of upright, meaning uprightness. You know how, I don't know what they would use. Naman Ali Khan gave the example. This guy, he is basketball. He's so good at it, it's as if he is basketball. Right? So this is a similar thing. ذَلِكَ دِينُ الْقَيِّمَةِ. It's not just an upright religion. That is the ultimate upright religion. And so qayyima is already boxed up here because it was like taqweem. Qam, qum, taqweem, qayyima. So we can just leave it like that. That is the deen, the religion of uprightness. That is the upright way of life. The rest of the surah translates very smooth. I might not even write probably barely anything.
Does Dinu and Qayyama have to match? Like, if they the both don't have al,
Deen has no al, yes, correct. But then qayyima has al.
so do they have to match?
If they were matching, it would be an adjective, like here. Upright scriptures. But they're not matching. Instead,
That's why of is there.
that's why of is there. I mean, not everything that doesn't match is going to have of. But in this case, it's of because it has no L and no tanween. That's the reason it's of. So let's go ahead and just read the next second part of the surah. Go ahead, Bismillah. What's the first word?
Very
Indeed.
indeed. Those who disbelieve from the people of the book and the polytheists are in the fire of Jahannam.
Why did you put an of? Because the word now
doesn't have
has no el
Or
and
tanween.
no tanween. Jahannam is different. Jahannam is a name. So we're not going to say al Rumman or al Michael. Right? So Jahannam is the name. So we're not expecting el. You see? We're putting of after the word now because the word now is a kind of word that we're expecting el or tanween. But Jahannam is a name, so we're not expecting el. The fire of hell. خالدين فيها.
They will enter
They
therein.
would live there forever.
Live forever, yes. So Khalidin, I like to use the word for good, not forever. Even though it kind of implies the same thing. For good, because there's another word that means also forever. أبدا. أولئك, those, هم,
Are
they.
Yeah.
Those, they. So in English, we don't say it this way. In English, we say, these guys, they are. Those people, they are. It's an emphasis. It's like more anger in the tone. In the next part, the next one will be more amazement in the tone. Those, they are sharrul bariyah.
evil creatures.
What about shar? Has no el and no tanween.
Worst of creatures.
Worst of. So we have an of for sure. It could have been, those are the evil of creation. That would not be a wrong translation, actually, technically. But because al-bariyah is all existing created beings. So the evil of existing created beings, it doesn't make as much sense as the worst of. So shar and khayr, they can mean good, better, best, bad, worse, worst.
What does Bariya mean?
Bariya is all created, existing created things. Actually, Bariya, they connect it to the surface of the earth. All the living things of the earth. Yes. And, what's it called? I know the French word. They call it la faune, la flore. La faune is all animals of the earth, the planet, and la flore is all the plants of the planet. And so the first one includes animals on land and animals in the water. And the second one includes plants on land and plants in the water. I don't know if there's a word in English for that. All animals, the combination of all animals. Anyways, so bariya would be that would be it. That would be the word. All animals. There's this joke. We all know that there's more water on Earth than land. Nope, it's not true.
Because that's like accounting for surface area, but in actual volume, there's more earth under the water.
There's more land under the water.
Yeah.
So in that sense, bariya is including basically, it includes all living things that are above the crust of the earth, whether that crust is below the ocean or above. Anyways, so sharr al-bariyah, the most evil of all created living animals. In other words, if you are a human being and you don't believe and you don't appreciate and you don't use your intellect that you were gifted with, then you're worse than animals, because if animals behave like animals, it's because they're animals. But if human beings refuse to use their intellect and behave like animals, then they're worse than animals because they don't have to behave like animals. Inna alladhina amanu. We can probably translate. You can probably translate this.
Those people who believe
Uh-huh.
And do righteous deeds.
And do righteous deeds. Exactly.
They are from
They are from
There's no from.
They are
Those,
those
they. Those people, they. So this is now an emphasis for amazement. These amazing people, they are khayrul bariyah, the best of creation. So I could just write the word creation, even though that doesn't give the full picture that I was giving. Those are the best of creation. جزاؤهم.
there's lots of in this surah.
There's lots of in every page of the Quran. MashaAllah. Yes. Good point. So many of them I didn't mention them. Let's take a look here. See, Laylat al-Qadr, night of power. I didn't mark it because إذن ربهم كل أمر, not really. مطلع الفجر, مطلع الفجر, the rise of Fajr. So many surahs are going to have of all over the place.
but that one has alif lam.
Which one?
What-
No, matla. Matla has no L, no tanween. So the of is between matla and Fajr.
Is matla a verb?
No. Matla, so the three root letters is tala'a and the meme is extra. This happens a lot, that you have an extra meme at the beginning. Muslim, masjid, and all these words. Musalla, right? And when a word has an extra meme at the beginning, it will never be a verb. Tala'a is the verb. So matla is the time or the place where tala'a happens. So the time of Fajr. The time of rising of Fajr. That's matla. So back to the end of the surah. جزاؤهم. What is jaza?
Reward.
Reward.
Reward
Yes.
from Allah.
جزاك الله خيرا. Allahu. جزاك الله خيرا. Means Allahu reward you. جزاك Allahu. Allah reward you. جزاك Allahu. Here, جزاؤهم. It's not جزاهم. It's جزاؤهم. So this is actually their reward. It's not a verb. Froze. Their reward. عند ربهم. عند is new for the first time, but it's in the reference sheets.
Like
Near
to the God. Like in
To-
that is to God.
To ربهم, their Lord. Where is it in the reference sheets to see what the reference sheets tells us?
It's in the third.
Yep, bottom of page 3.
at, by, near.
At, by, or near. I think all three of them work. Their reward is at Allah. Where did I leave my sunglasses? At my place. At means at a particular area. So at Allah means like it's with Allah. Right? At, what was the other one? Near? By. By Allah. Like sunglasses are at my house. They're by my table or by my side. So their reward is basically waiting with Allah. Allah has it with him, waiting for them. So sorry, the thing froze. So now I'm finishing the writing. Their reward. Their reward is waiting nearby Allah. Is with Allah. It's right there at his hand. Sorry, their Lord. At their Lord. So what I was mentioning about reward, jaza without the hamza is the verb. Jaza with the hamza at the end is the noun. Their reward
Jaza without a hamza is a verb.
is a verb. Yes. Every Friday morning, most masajid, you'll hear Surah Al-Insan. And Surah Al-Insan, إِنَّا نَخَافُ مِنْ رَبِّنَا يَوْمًا عَبُوسًا قَمْطَرِيرًا فَوَقَاهُمُ اللَّهُ شَرَّ ذَلِكَ الْيَوْمِ وَلَقَّاهُمْ نَضْرَةً وَسُرُورًا وَجَزَاهُمْ. And he rewarded them. جزاهم, he rewarded them. It's a verb. But here, جزاؤهم, their reward. their reward is with their Lord, comma, put a comma. Jannat. I know you know this. What is Jannat?
Garden.
Garden, paradise.
Garden. Adn. Adn sounds very similar to the English word
Eden.
Eden. Eden, yes. Gardens of Eden. Why are you putting an of?
Like there's no
Jannat.
tanween or
Because Jannat has no L and no Tanween. Could you say the garden? Yep. So you could say Al Jannah. The fact that it doesn't have it means there's an of after it. Gardens of Eden. تجري من تحتها الأنهار. Let me see if you can guess before I do anything.
Flowing rivers.
River. And
Flowing rivers. What am I going to do?
they live in Jannah forever. Meaning Jannah.
Let's stay with this phrase we haven't fully done. What do I need to do? Yes, I'm going to bubble the u of anharu. What for? Because the rivers are the ones flowing. So we're used to gardens of Eden with flowing rivers beneath. But it's actually not flowing rivers. It's rivers are flowing. Even though that means the same thing at the end of the day. That's the way the sentence is built. Okay, so now I can add, this is the second time we have a min that doesn't make sense. From below?
Rivers flowing and
From below them? From below? We don't say from below, we just say below. They're flowing right there, beneath. So this is the second time we have a min that doesn't translate. You see up here in ayah 4? They did not get divided except after, not from after, right? So this is the min of emphasis, they call it. The min za'ida, the extra min, that adds emphasis to the sentence. So this would be even after. They got divided after. They didn't get divided except even after the clear proof came to them. And here min means right beneath them, right below. So I don't know if you noticed in the Quran, there's a few of this phrase that is not exactly the same. تجري من تحتها الأنهار is also sometimes تجري. Anybody know? تحتهم
oh,
تحتهم الأنهار. Surah Al-Kahf. So what difference does it make? تجري من تحتها الأنهار. تجري من تحتهم الأنهار. Ha refers back to Jannah or Aden because Jannah is feminine. Hum is for people. So now Allah doesn't, Allah says both. So he's not talking about different Jannahs, and some Jannahs will have rivers flowing beneath the gardens and others will have rivers flowing beneath the people. No, it's probably the same. What does it mean, flowing beneath the people? Grass floor?
Yeah.
Balcony? Waterfall right there?
they will be in paradise. They're describing about the paradise. There
Yeah.
will be river flowing.
Yeah.
And they will live forever. خالدين فيها أبدا. They will live there forever.
Yep. خالدين فيها أبدا. So أبدا is forever. So you notice a difference between hellfire and Jannah. Jannah is خالدين فيها أبدا. Hellfire is only خالدين فيها. Yes? There are two surahs like this, Surah bayyinah and Surah al-Taghabul. These are the two surahs where hellfire, staying forever, Jannah, staying forever, forever. But there are plenty of other places where خالدين فيها أبدا is for Jannah. The خالدين فيها أبدا for the hellfire is very, very rare. And so the scholars, they noted this. They noticed that there seems to be a distinction. Allah didn't, no word in the Quran is just random, haphazard, meaningless. No, every single word is purposeful in the Quran. So Allah purposefully did not say abada for the people of the hellfire. So there's a difference between forever in hell and forever in Jannah. There's a difference. Allah clearly shows that there's a difference. What is that difference? The scholars look at Surah Hud, in which Allah says, actually I can bring it up here. I don't know how long it's going to take. Allah says, خالدين فيها أبدا إلا ما شاء ربك. For both hellfire and Jannah. خالدين فيها أبدا إلا ما شاء ربك. Which means إلا ما شاء الله. What does that mean?
Except what
Whoever
Except what Allah wills. And so the scholars say, well, Allah can decide whatever He wants. And it is not befitting for someone to break a promise. If they promise something good to somebody, it's not good to break a promise. But if somebody threatens with some evil consequence, then it is good to break that threat or to break that promise. And since I'm speaking, I'm not actually focusing on what I'm scrolling. So for Allah to say, إِلَّا مَا شَاءَ رَبُّكَ, except whatever Allah wants, well, for Jannah, Allah said forever, He's never going to break the promise because that's something good, that's a reward for people. As for the hellfire, staying forever in the hellfire is not something good, it's a threat. So there's nothing wrong for Allah to break that threat and actually not keep them in the hellfire forever. And Nasib, right there. خالدين فيها ما دامت السماوات والأرض. So it's not خالدين فيها أبدا. It's خالدين فيها as long as heavens and earth exist. Except whatever your Lord wants. And then they look at the difference between the two ayahs. This ayah, indeed, your Lord does whatever He wants. That is what Allah comments about the fact that except whatever your Lord wills, your Lord does whatever He wants. As for Jannah, except what your Lord wills is still there, but Allah tells us more. He says, عطاء غير مجذوذ. It is a gift that can never stop. It will never be cut off. It will never stop. So this is another place where the description of Jannah and Hell is very different again. And so scholars compare the fact that Allah describes Jannah and Hell differently, and they add to that, what is the purpose of punishment? Allah describes the purpose of punishment, لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْجِعُونَ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَذَّكَّرُونَ, so that they can come back to Allah, so that they will be reminded and do more dhikr of Allah. And this is something that all the scholars that discuss this topic, mainly the three main scholars that are known to have discussed this topic is Al-Ghazali. Anybody know Al-Ghazali? Famous Ghazali. Ibn Taymiyyah, famous. Ibn al-Qayyim. So they discuss and they say that they compare punishment with a doctor who has to do something painful for the longer term benefits. And nowadays, alhamdulillah, doctors have figured out all sorts of technology so that whenever they have to amputate or do some big surgery, they can just numb the area or just put your body to sleep. What was it 200-300 years ago? What was it at the time of the Prophet? When they knew this needs surgery, how did they do it? It was extremely painful. There was no way around it. It was extremely painful. And when somebody has a wound, when you get a cut, everybody got a cut when they were kids. I still get cuts. Actually, I still have the leftover scar from a cut. You get cut, it hurts at that moment, but then seconds later, it doesn't really hurt anymore. But then mom says, no, we have to wash it. And then we have to put the antibiotic on it. We have to wash it with alcohol. Do you look forward to that wash with alcohol? No. Back in the days, what did they have to do? They had to use an iron in the fire and right? Why is a person willing to go through that suffering? Why is a person willing to go through that punishment? Because they know it's going to purify. And that is the purpose of punishment. It's supposed to purify the heart. So if somebody is able to achieve that pure heart in dunya, then ما يفعل الله بعذابك. What is Allah going to get out of punishing you? You already come to Allah with a clean heart, a pure heart. What in the world, what business does Allah have giving you more to suffer? That defeats the purpose of suffering or punishment or chastisement. And so there's a big difference between, the scholars explain, there's a big difference between chastisement and retribution. There's a big difference between justice and retribution. So let's say somebody, may Allah protect us, somebody kills a family member. We want justice, but would it add anything to my pleasure in life to see that person die? No. Rather, when we say we want justice, we don't want retribution. We don't want that person, we don't want to watch that person suffer. That's not what the human being was, that's not what the fitrah says. Instead, what we want is we want that person to be cleaned so that they don't do this, to realize how bad it is that they killed somebody else. SubhanAllah. So even in our own fitrah, Allah has developed it in us that even for somebody who harmed us, what we want is not necessarily to see that person suffer the same way. At least if our fitrah is still alive, we don't want to see people suffer. Rather, we want them to regret what they did and to never do it again. Yes. So that's the whole discussion that the scholars have, and they conclude that the Jannah is forever without any ifs and buts. The hellfire is forever with ifs and buts. Allah will decide whatever He wants to do. Once the purpose of punishment has been fulfilled, then that's it. Hellfire is done and gone. One of the scholars has an interesting take. He says, look at the way that the word adab, punishment, has the same letters as the word udhb, which means sweet or sweetness. And so he says, what if the hellfire, the fire eventually dies out and it becomes sweetness? Because now people have a clean heart. They weren't able to achieve a clean heart in the dunya. The punishment of the grave still wasn't enough. And then long extended stay in the hellfire still wasn't enough. Eventually, their stay in the hellfire seemed eternal to them. But eventually, they still finally get a clean heart. And so it becomes sweetness instead of being fire. They don't go to Jannah, but they stayed in the hellfire forever. Except at the end, it turns into udhb. Adab turns into udhb. Allahu a'lam. Interesting take. رضي الله عنهم ورضوا عنه. Allah is pleased. In Arabic, about them, which is kind of close, right? Is pleased about them. We say pleased with them, happy about them. Both ways we work. وَرَضُوا عَنْهُ. And they are pleased with him. So with him is easy because anhu. They are pleased, you have to guess. Radu, they are pleased. Actually, no, we don't have to guess. Because we did page 5 of the reference sheet, which is in the booklet. The card doesn't have it. Radu matches nasaru. So radu is they. It's in the booklet only, it's not in the card. رضي الله عنهم ورضوا عنه اللهم اجعلنا ذلك that لمن خشي ربه.
For that who fears.
For that who fears, almost. Men who. For who fears. For the one who feels. Who fears. For whoever fears. ربه.
His Lord.
His Lord. fear his Lord.
What is radu? Waradu.
So radiya, Allah is pleased. Radu, radiya means pleased. Allah is pleased. Radu also means pleased, but who's pleased this time?
People are pleased.
Radu looks like nasaru. Nasaru. So fear Allah, that is for who fears Allah. Allah wants us to fear Him. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Is that supposed to be fear?
Thoughtful.
Thoughtful. That is for whoever is thoughtful of Allah. Is that what you mean? The khashya is not fear in the sense of being afraid of something. Khashya is that you're worried to disappoint. If any father is a good father, kids will not be afraid of their father, but they might have khashya for their father. What is that? They're worried to disappoint. They're scared to come home after they did something really bad. They're scared to, show face in front of their dad or mom actually after doing something bad. Not because they're scared of dad or scared of mom, rather because they're scared of the disappointment. They're scared of seeing the disappointment on the mom or dad's face. So that's khashya. They're scared to disappoint Allah, or eager to please, you could say also. Khashya, it belongs with it. I mean, eager to please belongs in the khashya.
Pray like
This is a different word. Khushu' has the ayn at the end. Khashi'ah. Khushu' is humility. And khushu' is not just humility. Khushu' is to be able to focus, humbly focus.
Zalika means this.
That.
Yeah.
That is for whoever is eager to please their Lord and worried or scared to disappoint their Lord.
liman. Zalika liman.
Yeah, liman, for whoever. صدق الله العظيم. Mubarak on finishing an important section of the Quran. If we include these two surahs we did in the workshop, Al-Duha and Alam Nashrah. Al-Duha is the last surah that's less than half a page long. If you go up the Quran from An-Nas, go up. Al-Duha is the last one that's not half a page, and obviously a sharh also not half a page. Everything after that is at least half a page long. And even if you look at the topic, Surah Al-Duha started, like we mentioned a few weeks ago. Al-Duha mentions the Prophet ﷺ, mentions the guidance that he was seeking ﷺ, mentions the burden that was removed ﷺ, all of which is echoed or echoes what is found in the last 10 surahs, where the messenger is worried about his community. He sees that it's wrong for them to worship idols. He sees that the army of elephants was destroyed, not for no reason. He sees that these people are so corrupt. He wants to do something about it, but he doesn't know what to do about it. So Allah appoints him as the final messenger, says he's going to leave a legacy, says his enemy is going to be cut off, not him, and says he's going to pray and sacrifice, reviving the legacy of Ibrahim. All of that ties into the beginning of that section that has Al-Duha and Alam Nashrah. So this is, possibly the most important section of the Quran. Then surahs after that are a bit longer. And we'll get into that starting next week, inshallah. Next week, no. Next week I won't be here. I probably won't be here for 2 weeks. So stay posted on the WhatsApp. I might just do a YouTube live if I'm able to. Any questions?
سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك.
The next class will be